County, probably about 65 miles from where I live. I can't start today, but I'm just going to get moved in and get my dozer down there. And this is kind of the view of the place from the top of the hill. There's a set of tank batteries here we unloaded, and what we got to do, or I got to do, this used to be farmed years and years ago. They put it in CRP, which is a conservation reserve program, and they planted grass and everything. This is real sandy, and probably back in the 20s they built these shelter belts, that strip of trees on the north and the south side of it to control the wind, because that sand would get to blowing. They probably planted cotton and everything else. But it stays in that program for 10 years, and then they got to review it. You can renew it. They pay you to take, in other words, they pay you to take land out of production to plant grass in it for conservation purposes. Sometime in a period of those 10 years renewal, I was told that they wanted them to plant plum thickets or plum bushes or whatever, and cedar trees for wildlife. Well, you plant a plum bush around here, if it's a wild plum bush and it just goes crazy, it turns into plum thickets. Now, whether that was the truth or not, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, you can see if it's just taken over. So, before it come into renewal again, this last 10 years, if they wanted to keep it in the conservation reserve program, they had to remove all the plum thickets and all the cedar trees that are in the CRP. There's some of it that's not. They took some more out, but what I'm going to be doing with the dozer is digging up these cedar trees you see out there, and there are some cottonwoods. Where the heavier brush is, that's not in CRP, so I don't have to do nothing there, but you cannot leave any brush on the CRP, and you're not allowed to burn it. So I've got to take the cedar trees and push them to them areas and pile them that are not in CRP. And then the plum thickets, maybe next week or whenever something gets in, I'm going to rent a skid steer with a disc mulcher on there and go through them plum thickets. And everybody's saying that's going to make it meet compliance, so we'll see. But I can't start till tomorrow doing the work. This has been kind of one of those projects when you've been working on it and trying to get everybody in agreement, and finally coming on terms. I'm just going to be up here by the hour, by the day. And first they wanted me to contract it. Well, I was trying to figure out what it was going to take for me to come up here and do this and be fair with them. Then they decided just to do it by the hour, by the day. So, but they still wanted to kind of know what it was going to cost. So I still had to kind of figure what I thought it was going to cost, but that was just the estimate. It wasn't a bid. So we'll see. I think I've got the dozer pretty well figured out. It's a skid steer and the disc mulcher that I hadn't done it enough to really understand. We'll see what happens. Me and Mrs. D come out here. I kept looking at a map. I've looked at it twice, and it was before the plum thickets leaved out. And the last map, if you look on Google Earth, it shows it's probably 5 or 6 years old. Well, that don't really tell you a whole lot how thick these plum thickets was, so I knew kind of what they were saying I could get, how many acres an hour, and I hope they're right because I've done spouted off. They said I don't have to go back and forth. One pass with that disc mulcher will cut them up. Me and Mrs. D come out here in, it's either, might have been February, and tried to pick a day that wasn't so cold. I mean, if the wind's blowing, it definitely gets too cold up there to do anything outside. Brought the Kubota and a GPS, and I kind of just picked the spot where I could tell they was plum thickets, drove around them, and then measured how much area there was. So it took us probably half a day to do it. I'm glad I did because it showed that there was 130 acres of plum thickets. And I like to fell over when I added it all up. That's what they said was out, or that's what it showed out here. And I never dreamed it was that many plum thickets. So that's a pretty sizable amount of plum thickets to mow through. And now that I look at it, it looks like there's 130 or maybe more because they're trying to spread a little bit. I mean, I think I give myself enough wiggle room to get it figured out how much is out here. So, that hill right there is not in CRP. They never did farm that because it was a pretty steep hill, but there's a spot on top this side of them windmills, probably a 6 or 7 acre spot that's got some cedar trees, and you can see the cedar trees out through there. And like I say, they do not allow you to burn anything, so you can't pile nothing out in here and burn it. So I've got to get it off or have it mulched down, one of the two. And I thought I could probably push the tree, dig the trees up, push them to an area that wasn't CRP better than I could mulch them up. So that could change, but I am going to dig them up. I watched one video where it was up in Oklahoma and they had some CRP and they were allowed, they went through there at that disc mulcher, they cut the tree off at the ground. They said they wouldn't come back and then they just had a dozer pile up the trees and then they were allowed to burn them. Well, that's not the case up here, so they said I couldn't leave a stump in the ground because the stipulation is in the contract you got to be able to drive a tractor across there, which you wouldn't drive a tractor across there unless you was performing enhanced tillage or something. So I said it'd be better off to just go ahead and dig them up out of the ground, push them in a pile and get them out of the CRP so that would meet specifications. This just isn't something that I do every year. I mean, I dig up trees, but I don't fool with CRP much. But here's a big area of plum thickets right here. And you get back out there in the middle, and some of them things are 6, 7 foot tall. The reason I couldn't start, today's July the 1st. I was wanting to get this done this spring while it was cool. But got ready to do it, and someone checked on something and said they had a nesting rule. Since this is the Department of Agriculture project, the CRP has a nesting rule which keeps you from doing anything out here. You can't graze it, you can't be out here running around with a piece of equipment, you can't mow it. From, I believe it was March 1st to July 1st. So, that pretty well eliminates trying to do it while it was cool and they can go be out here in the winter time. They don't graze it, there's no fences nowhere around here, so it's primarily they put it in there and they use it for hunting for the wildlife part of it. So that plan, that full plan A about trying to get it done when it's cool. So I'm not really concerned too much about the dozer, but I know that skid steer, when you're out here and stuff's flying around, and it's hard to keep them things running cool when it's 105 temperature, and that's what it's been, and probably what it's going to be while I'm out here. So I may have to just run it half a day or something, which that's going to affect the time that I'm out here with it being the least piece of secret. I was planning on running it at least 8 hours a day, so I may have to start about daylight to run my dinner, and then maybe do some of those work if I don't have it already done. Try to do that. We'll see how it goes. Like I say, I'm not that familiar with doing any mulching and stuff. I don't know what the limitations are. So, but that's where we're going to be, and I'll just come up here in the truck. Just going to drop this thing off. I'm going to clear a spot over here by this well where I'm going to make camp and kind of get the grass knocked down, where if the fire does start, I'm not in the middle of a burning inferno. I am a good little ways from home. I've got the areas, like that little area right there has been taken out, and there's several more like that, so that's going to give me a place to push some of these cedar trees into an area like that. But I've got to be able to find them, so I've had a map downloaded on my GPS where I can kind of find those areas and be sure that I'm not piling anything inside of the CRP, and I'm getting everything out of the CRP where it's supposed to be. So we'll let y'all see some of that tomorrow when we get out here and get to work. I'm probably going to start knocking down cedar trees. They had a skid steer available. They were trying to get the disc mulcher located, so I told them just wait a week if you need to. Maybe we might have a little cooler weather, but who knows. We'll see what I can get into. We'll get y'all some video of that while we're out here. So, until tomorrow, we're back out here. Thanks again for watching this video, and we'll let y'all see some of this tomorrow. Bye. Welcome to Dunsmore Moving Dirt. We're back out where the dozer is, where we moved it yesterday, up here on some of this CRP ground. And I got up here late, had to go to a funeral this morning, but I've already knocked down a few cedar trees, and they're not too bad. But I got over here next to where this windbreak is. Some people call them shelter belts or windbreaks. They were planted, all these trees was planted back probably in the late 20s and 30s, somewhere in there, when they started doing a lot of conservation programs. And this was to stop the wind from coming across this sand. This is on the north side of the field. This is one. Now they're harvesting wind for electricity, so, but that wasn't even a thought back in. But anyway, this runs the entire length of this north side. Then there's one way down there on the south side, and that was supposed to stop the wind and keep this sand from rolling across this 200 and something acres. This little stretch between the top of that hill and where we're sitting, it never was put in cultivation. But they went ahead and took the break across it just to slow the wind down. But this ridge right here, there was a few trees here, and I pushed them back out and over that ridge. But that ridge wasn't here years and years ago. That's sand that when that wind hit these trees and it stopped the wind, it dumps the sand out. And that's really what it was meant to do. And it runs all the way across both sides of this windbreak here, where the sand, that was how much sand the wind was carrying across this field, especially when they was farming it. Chances are they planted a lot of cotton and maybe wheat, but it runs the entire length of this shelter belt, and it's the same way on the other end. They planted them to stop the wind from just totally just moving this hill and stuff of sand. I mean, if this wasn't here, it would just go on till it hit something to stop the wind. And I've even seen fences along county roads, and you would think a fence, but a fence gets weeds growing in it, and slowly years go by and you can't even see the fence because it's covered up with sand. So I mean, it's just, you can see it's just powder. Of course, I mean, it's been dry for a while, but you cut the top of that grass off and it's just sand. It just starts blowing. So that's why this field here was put into grass, is to control the erosion and everything. So anyway, we're headed up to the top of that hill, and there's probably 8 acres on top of that hill that's flat, and that's NCRP because that was ground that used to be farmed. So we're going to head up there and dig them cedar trees out, and I'll probably go ahead and push them out of the way while I'm up there. Then I don't have to go back up there. I need to kind of find where that line is. There's kind of a line through here, zigzags, and winds up over there where them tank batteries are, that you can see the way the hills and the dunes are. That never was farmed, so that's not, has nothing to do with back over here where they planted grass. So anyway, I'll set the camera up in the cab where it'll be just a little bit cooler, and let y'all see some of that as we dig some of them trees out. Only thing about a cedar tree, I just usually don't knock down many cedar trees, but the limbs reach out so far, I gotta hit it up high, and sometimes it's breaking off, and then I gotta dig the stump out. But the ground's so sandy, they come out pretty good. So it'd have been a whole lot better this winter, but just couldn't get up here then. So anyway, we'll let y'all see some of that after a bit. Trees they planted in that shelter belt. There's some China berries in there, but I think they may have just come on seed. But a lot of them are modark trees, or a lot of people call them horse apple trees, and that wood is hard as steel. They used to make wooden fence posts out of them. You could probably drive a fence steeple once they got cured out. don't know if you can see the temperature or not. It says 106 degrees, so, and it's at 4:30 in the afternoon. I about got all I want to do up here. I'm fixing to go in and come back early in the morning and see how much I can get before it gets awful hot. So it's not hot in here, but it's hot outside, so got along pretty good. The cedar trees are coming out better than I thought they would, but boy, they're just, you get up there and look back down through there, is all you can see is plum thickets. So I measured, I think there's 250 acres out here, and I think I measured 130 plum thickets. So I hope I get ahead of my time that I allotted for the dozer, because I think it's going to take it on the skid steer and everything with the mulcher. We'll see. It may go pretty fast, but depending on how hot it gets, that's what the main thing is. So anyway, we're gonna do a little bit, blow some stuff out, and probably come back in the morning early and hit it again. So if the wind's not blowing early in the morning, I may put the drone up. It's just when it gets like this in the summertime, I mean, the wind's just about midnight to quit, the wind will lay down, and then 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning it's blowing 20 mile an hour when you get up. So anyway, appreciate y'all watching this channel. If you hadn't subscribed, wish you do that, and hit the like button, share it with all your friends. So tomorrow we'll start again, and I hadn't looked at my blade. I bet that sand's got it shined up, but remember, keep your blade shining, your tracks clean. Bye.